Back on a winning Tuesday, an Eagles Tuesday. Yes, hanging out. Tone DeShields, Rob Ellis. Hit the like if you could, friends. All right, let's look at the defense here, Tone. Amazing when you think about it. Look, I'll tell you the other thing real quick before we get into the Eagles defense. I know they have Mahomes. I know it's Andy Reid. I know there's a lot of season left to fix this thing, but they got problems, Kansas City. They got problems. They have now gone 3 straight games scoreless in the second half. They're averaging 5.3 points per game in the second half. They have 26 drops on the season, which is the most in the NFL. Andy has done Mahomes a disservice. I watched it years ago with McNabb, and he's doing the same thing with Mahomes. Before Andy finally begrudgingly gave in to get a star receiver in T.O., he was throwing James Thrash out there and Todd Pinkston and a bunch of guys who weren't good enough. And it hurt McNabb for years till he finally gave in. He's doing the same thing now with Mahomes. You trade away Tyreek Hill. Okay, I get it. You won a Super Bowl last year and you think you can get away with mediocre receivers. You can't. Even Mahomes needs some help. I know he's got Travis Kelce, but it's absolutely a joke what he's doing there with that. But anyway, that's just me. And that's
no, that's a good point. That's interesting. I didn't think about it from the McNabb perspective because it's so easy to overlook because of what Kansas City has achieved thus far in Andy Reid's tenure. It's very easy to overlook that notion. You win the Super Bowl with Tyreek Hill, and then you find and then you lose the following year to the Bucs, and then you find a way to win it, and then you find a way to win it again without a guy like Tyreek Hill.
No, lost him, won it, and then this year. This is his second year in Miami.
Right. I'm sorry. I was starting from the first Super Bowl they had.
When he was still there. I got you.
When he was still there. They won that one, and then they lost the following year to Tampa Bay. And then I think that following year, the Rams and Bengals went. And then, obviously, last year, they made it back with Juju Smith-Schuster and crew.
Yeah.
And maybe so what you're saying, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that because they won it last year with that mediocre crew, do you think Andy Reid and those guys are essentially they're underestimating the need for talent at that position?
Yes, I think Mahomes is so great, and it worked last year that I think they went into this year thinking they'd do the same thing, and I think they're finding out this year that they need better receivers around him, and it was on full display last night, and it's been on full display all year. When you have 26 drops, which is the most in the NFL. That's telling you something right there. And the other thing is, like, Kelce had a rare, in my opinion, bad. I know he had a touchdown, but a rare bad game. A lot of times he and Mahomes will figure out a way to resurrect everything and just drag that offense along. But it didn't happen last night.
Kelce's aging before our eyes.
Yeah,
he's aging. He doesn't have the same get off. It seems like he's kind of limping or
he's not right. Something's wrong with him.
Or dragging that leg like every other drive. He just seems like a shell of himself. Now, again, he's still a top 5, top 3 tight end at least. Let's not get it twisted here. That's not what I'm saying. But to me at least, he looks like he's dragging more so than anything.
Yeah, I agree. So anyway, that's their problem. But okay, so early in this game, Pacheco's kind of getting loose. Kelce did make a couple plays early, and you're thinking to yourself, man, this isn't setting up well here. And you get down 17-7 at the half. They give up 17, which I will say this though, when it was 17-7, I'm like, you know what? As hideous as this is, it's only 10. Like, they're not out of it, by any stretch. So I think the big thing, they made some adjustments at halftime. And then what you started to see, and there was some miscommunication. You remember on the first touchdown that Watson had, Byard just made a mistake. And that to me is very correctable.
Yeah.
You saw him get that pick, and that was an underthrow by Mahomes, but you saw Byard get the pick, which was big. But the Kelce, I can't, overemphasize this. The Kelce interception or the Kelce fumble, that would have put them up 24-7, I think, at that point. I think that's what it was. Actually, I'll go back to exactly.
Yeah. It would have been 24-7.
All right. So at that point, man, with that much time left in the game, that would have been really, really difficult to overcome. It really would. So
24-14. It would have been 24-14.
So it's a 2-possession game if he scores there, and they're on the 15. Like they were even further down than that when he caught it, and Roby punches it out, which is a really good play by Roby. that is enormous that they get those 2 turnovers, because that's been an issue all season with them. And then they really, the rest of the way, Mahomes was like pedestrian. He ends up, think about this. He had 43 attempts in that game. He only had 177 yards. He only averaged 4.1 per completion. 4.1. You will take that all day with that guy.
Right.
Milton Williams, it's a shame. He got, friendly fire where he got clipped in the.
Milton Williams was having a game.
He was awesome until that point last night. I think his best game he played as an Eagle.
Yeah, man. He was slicing through the backfield, tackles for loss.
And hard hits too.
Hard hit. He was making Pachenko feel him for sure.
Yes. Yeah. So he was really good. I'm telling you, man, I thought Reddick was awesome. Reddick had 1 sack, but he had 3 QB hits.
Mm-hmm.
He was active the whole night. I thought he had great get off. I thought he played an excellent all-around game. I really, really did. I thought he was awesome. And the other thing about the Chiefs rushed for 121 in the first half. That's just the first half alone. If you look at what happened in the second half, man, the running game, I know Andy didn't run it quite as much. And that's obviously, one of the chief complaints about Andy is he gets away from the run too much, blah, blah, blah. But they only rushed for $168 on the night. So they basically rushed for 47 yards in the second half. That was a total shutdown.
Yeah, they should. I didn't expect. I didn't account for the Chiefs getting off to such an easy start running the ball. I had them going for under 75. They more than doubled that on the night. But if you really want to look at the game fairly, yeah, they popped off for 122, I think, in the first half. And to me, I thought that was a clear sign of trouble for the Philadelphia Eagles. But then all of a sudden, they shut them down, held them to under 50 yards in the second half rushing. That's huge. And it gave that defense, it gave the offense a fighting chance. The defense, they created so many opportunities for the offense, whether it was forcing a turnover or forcing 3 and outs. There were just moments in that game where I thought to myself, offense, you have to do something. Defense cannot hold up this long against this quarterback. It's like they're slowly leaking oil. Slowly. Offense has to do something. And lo and behold, they did just that, man. It was all, got to give Sean Desai a lot of credit for making the second half adjustments that he did. And his ability to just understand the pulse of a game, well-timed blitzes. There was one play that kind of burnt me out a little bit where I think they sent the blitz and Mahomes converted like a crucial third down.
Right.
I think it was to Justin Watson and Sidney Brown was the defender.
Yes.
My problem with that was, why are you blitzing Reed Blankenship and not blitzing Sidney Brown? Reed Blankenship is better in coverage than Sidney Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why you leave Sidney Brown back there in coverage and you blitz Reed Blankenship. You're better, more technically sound safety. Right. That was one of my issues on defense in the second half. But when you shut them out in the second half, man, regardless of what the yardage was, you shut them out. You shut Patrick Mahomes out in the second half, and you're gonna have people say, well, he has no receivers. Well, hold on, wait. Y'all were the same people saying he doesn't need receivers. So which is it now? Yeah. Is it, does he need receivers or does he not need receivers? Because last time I checked, everybody needs some kind of competency at every position.
I agree. Look, I mean, and think about it too. Not only did you shut out Mahomes, you shut out Andy Reid. Andy Reid, who had your number in the Super Bowl. Let's not forget about that second half. Kansas City was able to just continually cash on drives in the second half of the Super Bowl. And whatever it was, you made the adjustments that you needed to make. So I think there's a lot to be encouraged about with Desai. He took over. It's not an easy gig. I know the Eagles have a lot of talent on that side of the ball. I'm not denying that. But you took over a team that lost Hargrave, that lost CJ GJ, that lost Epps, that lost Kaiser White, that lost TJ Edwards, that was forced to play a lot of young dudes, that has developed Jalen Carter. Look, Jalen Carter's a stud, but you're getting the most out of him. Jordan Davis took a big leap from year 1 to year 2. I give him credit for that. You've somehow muddled together that secondary with a lot going on there. He's had a way harder, in my opinion, first year as a coordinator than Brian Johnson, because with the exception of Sayamalu, and Miles Sanders, I don't know how much of a loss that was. That offense was pretty much intact. Desai has done a good job on the fly, sort of molding this thing and getting them to a place where I think by the time the end of the season comes along, this could be a good defense. I'm still worried about the secondary. Don't get me wrong. But I didn't notice Bradbury a ton last night.
Oh no, Bradbury was pretty.
Yeah,
he was pretty stout. I got some stats for you right now for Bradbury in terms of just how he performed in coverage last night. When it comes to James Bradbury in pass coverage against the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes was 2 of 6, 7 yards with a 42.4 passer rating. So Bradbury on the 6 attempts that he was target only gave up 2 catches for 7 yards. Man, he was he woke up. Now, granted, the receiver competition was nothing that he's been dealing with all year.
Right.
That's only going to increase. But so far so good. You know what I mean? Sometimes you need these kind of games under your belt so you can stack them. You know what I mean? And again, the quarterback is still the quarterback. Remember, everyone's been saying Patrick Mahomes can make anybody look good.
Yeah.
There's only but so much makeup you could put on ugly duckling. There's only but so much, man. If it walk like a duck, it quack like a duck. What is it, Rob? It is what it is, man.
Man.
Gotta give Bradbury credit for doing his job last night. Hopefully, it can continue.
Yeah, I think he, and Slay had his moments, good and bad.
Oh yeah, he got.
Well, there was when he got deep. He got deep in space badly, like a bad one. Not even a piece of the guy, kind of deal. He had a couple plays later that he made. Look, it was up and down. I'm not going to lie to you. But like and I think that deke was in the first half. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was. So for the most part, again, they all sort of locked in. John Clark had a report that they said to themselves, like, this is what the players were saying to each other at halftime. Like, we're not just going to make adjustments. We're going to shut them out. And so they felt pretty confident in themselves and what they needed to do at halftime, and they did it. So I think there's a lot to build on from that game. I really think so. Between the turnovers happening, shutting out that Chiefs team, Desai making the adjustments that he made, and he's not afraid. I think he has the same core thought that Gannon has, in that he doesn't want to give up big plays, but I think he's a little bit more willing to get in press coverage sometimes, a little bit more willing to blitz sometimes, a little bit more willing to kind of shake things up and not be as predictable as Gannon. And I give him credit for that. He's put his own little twist on things.
Yeah, man. It's the fact of the matter is, Sean Desai, the stark difference is he makes adjustments. He's not afraid to send some guys and make the quarterback uncomfortable. That first drive, where Hassan Reddick came off the edge like a bat out of hell and cracked Mahomes, I was like, okay, this is going to be a physical game.
Yeah.
It was just, you can't overlook what this pass defense has been going through over the past several weeks, and then what Sean Desai has had to deal with. And he's been putting a tourniquet all over this defense, and they ultimately rallied. He has some very interesting moments throughout his first year as the coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. He completely shut down a healthy Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp in the second half of that game after getting essentially torched in the first.
Right.
He found a way to hinder that electric offense in Miami, holding them to 17 points, and then he does this to Patrick Mahomes. He's starting to stack up a nice little resume for himself. I can only imagine what happens when he gets some more talent back there, maybe some more youth on the back end. That's actually competent, and some consistency. So I think this is a good sign thus far. I'm curious to see what they do against a guy like Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, one of the best receivers in the NFL. But again, Patrick Mahomes, at the end of the day, he can put the ball anywhere he wants. They found a way to make him uncomfortable just enough.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. And look, we know what this is. You got Diggs coming up. The week after that, you got Deebo Samuel and Ayuk and Kittle and that crew and McCaffrey, out of the backfield. The week after that, you got Dallas again, who put up some major numbers, including CeeDee Lamb. The week after that, you get Seattle, and you got to deal with Metcalf and Lockett and Smith-Njigba. I mean, you got a lot on your plate here for the next few weeks, but it's about getting better. And I think what we're seeing from this team is I also like a team that can beat you any number of ways, where they're not one-dimensional. All right, it's got to be a shootout. They got to win 42-35. No, it's got to be 17-14. No, you can beat you any which way if you think about it. You know, they've won plenty of high scoring games already, but they won a game like, and some of this is dictated by the weather. It was sloppy, man. It was
Yeah, it
hard.
was
It was
nasty
tough.
out there. Yeah, it was
So for
raining.
both teams, you know, if we get a clean track, who knows what it looks like, but all the more reason you're built to do it any different way. You're going to get bad weather in the playoffs. Odds are.
It's the NFL,
Yeah.
man. People want to hold the NFL to these college Madden video game standards. This is real life here. This sport is not for pretty boys. You know what I mean? Like this sport is gritty. It can get nasty, and it requires you to know how to win in more than just one way. That's what separates the mediocre teams from the good teams and separates the good teams from the great teams, right? The more ways that you know how to win, that elevates you. And the Philadelphia Eagles have shown they have an ability to win in every which way this upcoming season. How many teams in the NFL has won in more ways than the Philadelphia Eagles have this year? How many?
I don't think anybody has.
I don't think anybody has the deepest bag of ways to win than the Philadelphia Eagles this year. Yep. I'm willing to challenge anybody in that regard.
Agreed, man. And look, we know. I think there were some things defensively. At least a lot of this applies to the first half, but that were uncharacteristic.
A tale of two halves, literally.
Yeah, I mean, they were run on in the first half. They haven't been run on all year. You know, and then conversely, the offensive line gives up 5 sacks. Like I don't think I've ever seen that. With this group together, with the Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Mailata, Dickerson group, I don't think I don't remember a game where they looked like that. But they fixed it. That the other part is they clearly there's good coaching going on there. And I know the players take responsibility too, but the coaches can diagnose what's happening, fix it, make the adjustments necessary, and then come out and look like that on both sides of the ball. And that has to make you feel good as well.
Yeah, got to give credit to Spagnuolo as well. I mean, he came out the gate making it very clear what his intentions were. He was going to blitz in every which way. They were blitzing corners. They were blitzing safeties. They were blitzing everybody. Like Spagnuolo was doing his best to make Jalen Hurts see ghosts on every single play, even on first down. Like it just seemed like he was just being so creative with the blitzing packages. Got to give credit where credit is due. And this just shows the evolution of Jalen Hurts as not only a quarterback, but his evolution as a field general.
Yeah.
The ability to stay poised, stay calm, not shrink when you knew things were not going in your favor, when you knew your offensive line was struggling in that first half. He didn't panic.
No.
He stayed the course. He kept chipping away. Did he have his best game? No. He still completed around 64% of his passes, so relatively accurate, slightly below league average. But if I'm not mistaken, Patrick Mahomes, you know, he only completed, let me make sure I got this right. Patrick Mahomes went 24 for 43, and he completed 56% of his passes. So when you put it in perspective, you know, you had to look at it like this. He had the one interception with the miscommunication between AJ Brown, but then Patrick Mahomes followed up with an interception as well. So I'm not going to, you know, it was tit for tat in that regard. I'm not going to kill him for that. He's throwing the ball more. It happens. But 14 for 22, you got to give credit where credit's due with his maturity at the position. There's the Eagles defensively and offensively. They're so stout situationally.
Mm-hmm.
That's playoff football. Like, what can you do in this situation? They have been put through so many various situations throughout this first half of the season. Now, second half of the season, you can't tell me they're not booked for any circumstance in the playoffs.
That's the thing. I keep emphasizing this, and I tried to get this across to everybody before this stretch. Like, yeah, would you rather be playing crappy teams and guarantee yourself a win? Yeah, of course. But when you play teams like this, it gets you better. Iron sharpens iron, and you're going to be in situations of adversity like you were last night, because this is going to happen in the playoffs. You're going to get in a situation where you're down, or something bad happens, or there's a turnover or whatever, and you're going to be in bad weather, and you're going to have to overcome it. And I think having gone through these things the last couple of years, but especially this year, fresh, is going to be so enormous for this team come January and hopefully in February too.
Mm-hmm. You know what's so interesting about what you said about, you know, people just want to blur one out and have bad opponents, yada, 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 right? As humans, our brains are naturally meant to function to seek the path of least resistance.
Yes.
As humans, we're natural innovators. Our goal is always to choose the simpler path. Our goal is always to work smarter, not harder. That's the way our brains work. We're always trying to streamline things, fast track things. But when you're in the NFL, that's not how it always works, right? You can't always have the path of least resistance. Depending on the type of team you are, the league may grace you with the path of least resistance, a la the Detroit Lions. This schedule is a gift for them.
Yep.
But again, when you're forced to take the path of most resistance, when you're forced to have to play the Chiefs on the road, and then you got Miami coming to Philly, and then you got Dallas, and you go and they're going through this really tough stretch with Josh Allen and the Niners coming, and you gotta go to the Cowboys on the road, all that kind of stuff. And then there's many games in the season throughout the season where you've been down by 10 points or more in the first half, and you have to find a way to rally and just figure out that Rubik's Cube so you can get the W. That's championship level football right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you're tested the most. That's how you find out who you truly are. My dad always told me this, right, growing up.
Yeah. He
said, listen, I'm never going to judge you. I'm never going to judge you when things are always going right, or never judge a man in moments of peace. Judge a man in moments of chaos. Who is he when everything is going to shit? Mm-hmm. Who is he when things are going his way? Does he lash out on everybody? Does he point the finger, or does he look within and stay focused on the goal and chip away at it little by little? That's who the Philadelphia Eagles are. Judge them in chaos. Don't judge them in peace like the Cowboys.
Right.
You know what I mean? People are judging the Cowboys because they're blowing out the Panthers, and they're blowing out the Giants and the Jets, and they're giving them all this Kool-Aid. And my thing is, okay, all right, blow their head up all you want. I can't pay attention to that. I can't judge a team properly in moments of peace. Judge me when the bullets are flying. We'll find out who survives the war.
Well, you're right. I mean, here's what I can tell you too, and I'll relate this to recruiting. When recruiters, let's just take high school football, for example. One of the things that recruiters always look out for. Yeah, everybody's great when you're winning and you're beating a bad team and you're throwing the ball 50 yards down the field, guys making catches, blah, blah, blah. That's all good. It's all well and good. You need athletes. What they really watch for is what's happening when you're getting your ass kicked in a game and you're down 3 touchdowns and it's sloppy weather and things look bad. Are you still giving the same kind of effort you were giving? Are you still the same kind of teammate? Are you moping? Are you yelling at guys? Are you not listening to your coaches? All of those kind of things come into play a lot. So my point is, it's easy to be that guy, that gal when you're winning and front running. It's really hard when you're losing. Like that's when, they talk about exhaustion, makes cowards out of all of us. When you're down and you're losing to the team that you lost to in the Super Bowl at the half at third place with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, I'm telling you, a lot of teams would have folded up the tent, and they didn't. And yeah, did the Eagles get a couple breaks along the way? Yeah, but you have to put yourself in a position to get breaks too. Like if you're getting killed in that game, it doesn't matter if Valdez-Scantling drops that ball. But because you're up, we're going to point to it, and rightfully so. But you got yourself back in that game based on what you did, not necessarily what they didn't do. And that's a big piece of this, I think.
Yeah, it's just that simple. And another thing to keep in mind, the Kansas City Chiefs, their defense, they were doing a pretty good job holding teams from a scoring perspective, right? Let me make sure I got this number right. The Kansas City Chiefs, they were holding teams at home. When they were home, they were holding teams to under 15 points a game. Under 15 points a game, right?
Yeah.
The Eagles put up 21. So the Eagles forced Kansas City out of character. You follow me? Both teams were out of character from a scoring perspective. The Eagles normally score more on the road. The Chiefs normally hold teams to a lesser amount when they're at home. The Eagles went against Kansas City's trend. So Kansas City had an out of character second half, right? The Eagles, they had a relatively out of character first half. And at the end of the day, somehow, some way, when it's all said and done, the Philadelphia Eagles always have more points than the opponent.
Yep. That's it. And that's the bottom line. All right, let's come back and let's look at the offense. A very interesting night. You win a game where A.J. Brown essentially does nothing. 3 for 11 on third down. It's not a night where Jalen Hurts lit up the scoreboard, with his stats. But second half, when it was crunch time, you delivered. So let's look at the offense when we get back, and we'll do that. Again, Coach Marcus at 12:30. We'll talk to him about the overall big picture of this team. But we got a lot to do here off of this game as the Eagles beat the Chiefs 21-17 in Kansas City. Rob Ellis, Tone to Shields. We're coming at you on this Tuesday. Let's talk about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because knowing who to trust with your finances is priority one. And I was there in the front of the line, man, trying to find that right person for a long time. And I found the right person. I don't want you to have to go through what I went through. Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group are the people that I trust, whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review. You might have a small business and you want to get your employee benefits off the ground. That's another resource that Jim can help you with. I personally haven't trusted my IRA, my 401k rollover with Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Give him a call, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751. You can also email him as well, Murray, MURRAY, .jim@principal.com. That's Murray.jim@principal.com.